Hello Year 4, I'm going to read you Chapter 5 of Jeremy Strong, There's a Pharaoh in Our Bath, and this chapter's called The Search Continues. He can't just have vanished, said Grimstone to Professor Jelly in the museum cafeteria the following morning. They'd had a miserable night, getting thoroughly soaked, searching the streets until 3:30 before giving up. To make matters worse, Professor Jelly had got a puncture on the way home and had only crawled into bed at 4:15. At least his headache had gone. Somebody must have seen him. Taken him in, maybe. Looked after him. Grimstone pushed a coin into the coffee machine and pressed a button. A plastic cup clattered into place, and a thick brown sludge spilled into it. Grimstone sniffed it in disgust. Hot chocolate, he scowled. I hate the stuff. But you pressed the button for hot chocolate, said Jelly. I saw you. What do you expect? If I press the black coffee button, which is what I want, do you think I get black coffee? Of course not. This stupid machine gives me tea. If I press the tea button, you'd think I'd get coffee, but no, I get tomato soup. I thought if I pressed the chocolate button, I certainly wouldn't get chocolate, but I might get the black coffee I want. Professor Jelly felt his headache about to come back. He couldn't take all this in. I like hot chocolate, he muttered, taking the cup from Grimstone and sipping it. How are we going to find Cenopod? He can't have gone far, and he's going to stick out like a sore thumb in all those bandages. We shall have to hunt him down. An idea occurred to Professor Jelly. What about that film where those men go around looking for ghosts and trapping them in a special box? You mean Ghostbusters? Maybe there are people who catch ancient Egyptians, suggested the professor. Grimstone considered this. It's possible. What do you think they'd be called? Mummy Busters? Pharaoh Finders? Look in the yellow pages. Together they skimmed through all the telephone directories they could muster, but it was hopeless. Then they wondered about hiring a private detective, but quickly decided against the idea. They couldn't afford a detective, and supposing they did hire one and the detective found out about the treasure? No, they had to keep this to themselves. Grimstone slapped a fist into the palm of his hand. Got it! The police! Why didn't I think of it before? The police are bound to have picked him up. Nobody can wander around the streets at night dressed like Cenopod. The police will have picked him up and put him in a cell overnight for safekeeping. Come on. Grimstone's tiny moped could hardly cope with two riders at one sitting. Jelly's feet trailed along the road, and the speed they made would hardly have done credit to a turbocharged 16-valve tortoise. The moped hiccuped past the Mr. Freeze van at one end of the street and eventually put it to a halt outside the police station. They hurried in. Wattle, the desk sergeant, raised his eyebrows questioningly. Yes, gentlemen? We're looking for a pharaoh, said Grimstone, getting straight to the point. Might have come in last night. Have you got one? Pharaoh, replied Sergeant Wattle, scanning the list of pickups bought in during the night. Can't say there's a Mr. Pharaoh here. Got a Miss Fairseat. She was picked up last night. And there's a drunken fairy from some fancy dress party. What does he look like? Any distinctive features? He's covered in bandages from head to toe. Oh, been in an accident, has he? Not exactly. Look, have you got him or not? Demanded Grimstone impatiently. Sergeant Wattle shook his head. Sorry, gentlemen. By the way, if that's your moped outside, you do realise that one of you hasn't got a crash helmet. It's against the law to ride a moped, motorcycle, or any two-wheeled motor vehicle without a crash helmet. Grimstone turned to Jelly and shrugged. Sorry, Jelly. Looks like you'll have to walk. Grimstone pulled on his helmet and rode away, leaving the professor gazing after him. Professor Jelly sighed and began to trudge back along the long street. This was absolutely typical. Why did everything awkward have to happen to him? Why couldn't he have a decent break for a change? Professor Jelly glanced at the picture of ice lollies on the side of the Mr. Freeze van as he passed, and his steps faltered. Why not? He fished some coins from his pocket and went to the counter. I'll have a triple cone. Chocolate, pistachio and strawberry. With three flaky bars, please. You look like you need it, said Tony Lightspeed, squeezing a big dollop of strawberry ice cream into a cone. Having a bad day? The professor nodded. And it's only just started, he grumbled. My friend's just gone off on his moped and left me to walk. It's miles to where I'm going. Must be one of those days, said Mr. Lightspeed sympathetically. I've been having trouble myself. You can't imagine what I've got waiting for me when I get home. Professor Jelly licked his ice cream and shook his head. An ancient Egyptian pharaoh, announced Mr. Lightspeed. Now look, you've dropped your ice cream on your foot. But Professor Jelly didn't care about his ice cream. He gripped the counter with his pudgy hands. Tell me more more about this pharaoh?" he suggested slyly.